When I married him, I did not tell my husband or his mother that the condo we were living in was mine. I let them believe it belonged to my aunt. I smiled, I wore white, I said my vows, and I kept that one quiet little secret pressed against my heart like a key. I did not know it then, but that secret would save my home and my money. If I had told the truth on my wedding day, I would probably be standing in someone else's house right now, with nothing to my name. My name is Alicia Monroe. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and this is the story of how my new husband and his mother tried to take my home, and what happened when I decided I would not let them. Before we go back to the beginning, I want to ask you something. If the person you love started asking a few too many questions about your house, your money, your family, what would you do? Would you ignore that tight feeling in your chest? Or would you listen to it? While you think about that, if you enjoy real-life stories like this, where women listen to their intuition and protect themselves, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps me keep telling these stories. Now, let me take you back to the start. In January of 2025, before the phone calls and the courtrooms, Alicia Monroe was just a 35-year-old woman who was proud of her little place in the world. She lived alone in a 2-bedroom condo in Midtown Atlanta, not far from the MARTA station. The condo was not big, but it was bright. Morning light came through the windows and fell across her gray sofa and small dining table. She was a senior financial analyst at a big company downtown. Every weekday she took the train and went to an office full of numbers. She was good with money and knew how to build a plan and stick to it. That was how she had bought the condo. For 5 years she had saved, cutting back on small things, saying no to trips and extras. She paid off old debts, took on extra work, and kept her eye on one goal, her own home. 3 years of saving, then a small mortgage, then 2 more years of tight living. And finally, the bank handed her a stack of papers and a set of keys. The condo was her safe place. Her proof that she could take care of herself. So when she started dating again, Alicia did not rush to tell any man that the condo was hers. The first time she met Darius King, she did not think about any of that. It was spring of the year before, at a charity event for a local school. The party was in a hotel ballroom downtown. Alicia went, because her boss, Mr. Cole, asked her to come. She stood near the back of the room with a glass of sparkling water, watching people talk and laugh. That was when her coworker Imani waved her over. "Alicia, this is my friend Darius," Imani said. "He works in construction." "Darius, this is the numbers genius I told you about." Darius was tall and fit, in a dark suit that fit him well. His smile was easy, his eyes were warm and steady. "It's nice to finally meet you," he said. "Imani talks about you all the time." They chatted by the bar. Darius was funny, but not rude. He asked about her work, her hobbies, where she grew up. He told simple stories about building sites and about helping his mother with things around her co-op on the south side of the city. There were no crude jokes, no strange comments about her job or her salary. Alicia relaxed. She liked the way he made her feel noticed, but not pressed. At the end of the night, he walked her out to the sidewalk. "Can I get your number?" he asked. "Maybe we can get some real food next time. Something that doesn't come on tiny plates." She laughed and gave it to him. Their first date was at a small soul food restaurant in the West End. The place smelled like fried chicken. Old R&B played from a speaker in the corner. They sat in a booth and shared a slice of sweet potato pie at the end. Darius told her he was 38, never married, and worked as a senior engineer at a construction firm. He said his father had passed when he was 20, and he lived with his mother now, helping her out. "And you?" he asked. "You live around here?" "Midtown," Alicia said. "I stay in my aunt's condo while she's in a care facility." The words came out smooth and easy. She had practiced this line. Darius nodded. "That's kind of her. Is she doing okay?" "She has some health issues," Alicia said. "Heart problems. She's in long-term rehab, out of town." "I'm sorry to hear that," he said. "Family can be a lot. It's good you can help by staying in her place." He did not push. He did not ask how much the condo cost or whether it was paid off. He just listened. Later that night, after he walked her up to the front of her building and said goodnight, he glanced up at the tall condo tower. "So this is your aunt's place?" he asked. "Yes," Alicia answered. "Aunt Laverna's. Nice spot," he said. "Good for you." Then he smiled, wished her a good night, and walked away. Alicia watched him go, her hand on the cool metal of the lobby door. In her mind, that small voice spoke again. Don't tell him. She could have stopped him then. She could have called out, "Wait, Darius. The truth is, this place is mine. I bought it." But she did not. She walked into the lobby, rode up to her floor, and unlocked her door in silence. Inside, the condo was quiet. The city lights glowed through the windows. Alicia leaned her back against the door and let out a breath she did not know she was holding. "Just for now," she whispered to herself. "He doesn't need to know. Not yet." She did not know, on that calm spring night, how far that one choice would reach into her future. She did not know about the appraisers or the court dates that would one day fill her calendar. All she knew then was that she liked a man named Darius King, and that for now, her condo, her deed, and her hard-earned safety would stay tucked behind one small, careful lie. For the first few weeks after the wedding, life in the condo felt almost like a movie. Darius moved into the Midtown place at the end of January. He carried in boxes, cracked little jokes, and tried to keep from scratching the walls. Alicia watched him set his shoes by the door, hang his shirts in her closet, slide his toothbrush into her bathroom. He would wrap his arms around her from behind and say, "Feels good, doesn't it? Finally living together." Sometimes he called it our home. Sometimes he called it your aunt's place. Each time, that same little voice inside her chest whispered a few words she tried to ignore. Just keep it to yourself. They built small routines. He made breakfast on Saturdays, eggs, turkey, bacon, toast. She brewed the coffee, strong and dark. They watched the trains glide past the windows far below and talked about their days. If Alicia woke up early for work, she would stand in front of the big window and look down on the street and think, "This is mine. I did this." Now they were married. Now there was someone else brushing their teeth in her sink. At first, she chose to see that as a good thing. The morning everything changed. It was still dark outside. Alicia woke to the sharp buzz of her phone on the nightstand. Her eyes were heavy. She fumbled for the screen and squinted. The numbers read 6:30 a.m. The caller ID showed a strange number she did not recognize. For 1 second she thought about letting it ring. But something, maybe habit, maybe that same small voice made her swipe to answer. "Hello?" Her voice was rough with sleep. "Good morning. May I speak with Miss Alicia Monroe?" A bright, polite voice asked. "This is Alicia," she said, sitting up a little. Beside her, Darius snored softly, one arm flung across the bed. "Hi, Miss Monroe, this is Carla calling from Apex Realty Group. We received a request to schedule an appraisal for a condo at," there was a rustling of paper, "at 1840 Midtown Tower, Unit 1507. We're calling to find a time that works best for you." Alicia's heart thumped once, hard. "I'm sorry," she said slowly. "I didn't ask for an appraisal." "Oh," the woman said. "It looks like the request came in last night. Sometimes family members or spouses submit on someone else's behalf." "Maybe no," Alicia said, a little faster than she meant to. "Nobody asked me. I'm not planning to sell my condo." There was a pause on the other end. "I understand," Carla replied. "We don't want to bother you. It may have been a mistake." "I'll cancel the order. Thank you and have a good day." Alicia ended the call and stared at the black screen of her phone. The condo was quiet except for the low humming of the heater and Darius' soft breathing. An appraisal. For her exact unit. She had never called Apex Realty in her life. She glanced at Darius. He was still asleep, mouth parted, totally unaware. For a second, something sharp and cold slid through her. Then she brushed it away. "It's probably a mix-up," she told herself. "Wrong number, wrong unit. Atlanta is full of condos." She set the phone down, lay back down, and tried to breathe normally. A few minutes later, Darius rolled onto his side and blinked. He mumbled. "Why are you up so early?" "Wrong number," she said. "Some real estate company." He squinted at her, then reached for her and pulled her close. "Ignore it," he said, pressing his face into her shoulder. "People call all the time trying to sell stuff." He sounded casual, relaxed. But as he yawned and sat up, Alicia caught a tiny twitch in his jaw, like a muscle jumping. It might have meant nothing. It might have meant everything. She couldn't tell. They got out of bed. Alicia turned on the coffee maker in the small kitchen. Darius leaned against the counter, scrolling through his phone. his t-shirt wrinkled, his hair still messy from sleep. "What did they want, anyway?" he asked, sounding almost bored. "They said someone requested an appraisal," Alicia answered, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. "For this unit." Darius looked up then, just for a moment. His eyes flicked to her face, then back to his phone. "Well, that's weird," he said with a little laugh. "Guess they got the wrong customer. They had the full address." Alicia wrapped her hands around the warm mug. "Our building. Our floor. Our unit number." "Babe, addresses are everywhere online," he said. "You know that. Data leaks, lists being sold, people spray calls all day looking for a bite. Don't let it freak you out." She nodded, but the unease did not leave. It settled in her chest like a small stone. After Darius left for work, Alicia stood at the counter, staring at the empty coffee cup. Finally, she picked up her phone, pulled up the recent call, and copied the number into a search bar. Apex Realty Group had a website, office in Atlanta. Years in business, client reviews, pictures of smiling agents in suits showing people around homes. Everything looked real. Her fingers hovered over the screen. "This is silly," she thought. "It's just a mistake." She called anyway. "Thank you for calling Apex Realty Group," a new voice said. "How can I help you?" "Hi, this is Alicia Monroe," she said. "Someone from your office called me this morning about an appraisal. I just wanted to understand where that request came from." "One moment, Miss Monroe," the woman said. "Let me check." Alicia listened to the soft sound of keyboard taps. Her heart sped up again. "Okay," the woman said. "Yes, I see it here. Request for appraisal, Midtown Tower, Unit 1507. The request lists a Mr. Darius King as the contact and notes that you're his wife." Alicia closed her eyes. "Did he say why?" she asked. Her voice sounded strange in her own ears. "There's a note," the woman replied. "It says that the condo belongs to your aunt and that your family may be looking to sell in the next few months. He was hoping to get an idea of the market value." "Thank you," Alicia said, forcing the words out. "Please cancel it. We're not selling." She hung up. The condo walls seemed to lean in around her. She walked to the living room and back to the kitchen, then back again, her bare feet quiet on the floor. Darius had not told her what he was doing. He had used her name. He had told a stranger her address. He had made plans for an appraisal on the home she had fought so hard to buy. She felt a wave of anger rise in her chest, hot and heavy. Then another feeling pushed in behind it, a stubborn, nervous hope. Maybe he had a good reason. Maybe he wanted to surprise her. Maybe he thought they would buy the condo from Aunt Laverne together. Maybe she was jumping to the worst story too fast. That night, when Darius came home, she watched him carefully. He came in laughing about something that had happened at a job site. He kissed her cheek, dropped his keys in the bowl by the door, and walked to the fridge. "You okay?" he asked, his head half inside, reaching for a bottle of water. "You look like you had a long day. Did you request an appraisal on the condo?" she asked. He froze for a beat. She saw it. Then he straightened up and turned around with the bottle in his hand. "Oh, that," he said, trying to sound light. "Yeah, I made a quick call. I was going to tell you. I just thought it wouldn't hurt to know what this place is worth. Your aunt might want to sell one day, right?" He twisted the bottle cap off, eyes on her. "She never said anything about selling," Alicia replied. "And you didn't think you should ask me before you gave strangers our address?" "Allie, come on," he said, walking toward her. "I wasn't trying to go behind your back. I grew up watching my mom lose money because she didn't know what things were worth. I just wanted us to be ready, that's all. Us. Ready." The words sounded sweet. The action still felt like a line crossed. A few days later, Loretta started coming by more often. She would call from the lobby of the building, or sometimes she would just ring the bell. Loretta was always neat, always put together. Her hair was styled, her blazer crisp. She stepped into the condo like she was stepping into a room she had built herself. "Such a nice place," she would say, every time. "Your aunt must have done well for herself." She asked small questions that did not feel small. "How old is your aunt?" Again. "Does she have any other family? Has she made a will? Has she ever talked about what she wants to do with this condo?" "I don't really know," Alicia answered over and over. "We don't talk about it much. She's focused on her health." One afternoon in late February, Alicia came home early from work. A meeting had been canceled. She rode the elevator up, walked down the hall, and slid her key into the lock. The door was already open. She pushed it in gently and heard voices coming from the kitchen. Darius and Loretta were talking, their voices low. She set her bag down as quietly as she could and stepped closer, staying just behind the wall. "We need to move faster," Loretta was saying. "You heard what I said. Women that age don't stay in rehab forever. She could be discharged any time." "Mom, calm down," Darius replied. "If we push too hard, Alicia will smell something. She's not stupid." "That's exactly why you can't sit on your hands," Loretta snapped. "Doing it right means doing it before she starts asking real questions." Alicia's fingers curled into a fist, her heart pounded in her ears. She backed away, made herself walk to the front door, then opened it and shut it loud enough to be heard. "I'm home," she called. The voices in the kitchen stopped. Darius popped his head around the corner, his face open, his smile quick. "Hey, babe." "You're early," he said. "Mom just came by to say hi." Loretta stood up from the table, smoothing her blazer. "Good to see you, dear. I was just checking in. You know how worried I am about you two and this living situation." Alicia forced herself to smile. They drank tea, they talked about the weather. Loretta left soon after. That night, Alicia lay awake staring at the ceiling. Maybe they had been talking about something harmless. Maybe Loretta really was just worried. Maybe Alicia was being too sensitive. But when she closed her eyes, she heard the same words again. "We need to move faster," before she starts asking real questions. The next day, on her lunch break, Alicia stepped outside her office building and called her friend Keisha Brown. Keisha worked at the Fulton County Records Office. She was the kind of person who knew how to find things in big systems. "Hey girl," Keisha answered. "What's up?" "I need a favor," Alicia said. She told her about the appraisal call, the talk she had overheard, Loretta's questions. "You think they're planning something with the condo?" Keisha asked. "I don't know what to think," Alicia said, "but my gut is loud." Keisha was quiet for a second. "Okay, text me your full address and the parcel number if you have it. I'll see if anybody's been poking around your property record lately. No promises how fast, but I'll check." "Thank you," Alicia said, a little of the tightness in her chest easing. "I owe you." "Just owe me lunch," Keisha said. "And Alicia? If your gut is talking, don't ignore it." 2 days later, Keisha called her back. "Ali, listen," Keisha said, her voice lower than usual. "There have been some searches on your condo." "What kind of searches?" Alicia asked. 3 days ago, Keisha said, a law firm called Legal Edge requested a title search on your unit. Liens, debts, ownership, the whole thing. Official request, not just somebody peeking online. Alicia leaned back in her chair. The office around her blurred. "Can you see who they did it for?" she asked. "Not from here," Keisha replied. "They filed it as part of a potential transaction. Could be anyone. But, Alicia, normal people don't spend money on this kind of search unless they're serious. This is not a casual thing." After she hung up, Alicia opened her browser and typed in Loretta King, Atlanta prosecutor. She scrolled through a few old articles with her name, some cases she had worked on long ago. Nothing too strange. Nothing that told the whole story. She tried Darius King Atlanta fraud. Nothing helpful there either. On paper, they were clean. In her gut, they were not. That evening, as the sun went down over Midtown and the condo filled with orange light, Alicia picked up her phone again. She called Imani. "Girl, what's going on?" Imani asked. "You sound tired. I need the reporter version of you," Alicia said. "Not just my friend. I think my husband and his mother are planning something with my condo, and I need to know exactly who I married." Imani's voice changed. It grew sharper, more focused. "Okay," she said. "Start from the top. And don't leave anything out." Alicia took a deep breath and began to talk. She had no idea, as she stood there in her small, bright kitchen, how much truth those questions would drag into the light. Imani listened without interrupting. Alicia paced between the sink and the stove, phone pressed to her ear, eyes stinging. She told her everything. The early morning call from Apex, the way Darius had brushed it off. Loretta's questions. The words Alicia had heard in the kitchen when she came home early. When she finished, there was a long silence on the line. "Alicia," Imani said at last, "this doesn't sound like some little misunderstanding. This sounds like a plan." "That's what scares me," Alicia whispered. "I keep thinking maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. but my chest feels tight all the time. I can't sleep. Don't call yourself crazy, Imani replied. Call yourself alert. Here is what we're gonna do. Tomorrow, you and I are going to meet. Somewhere quiet. You bring everything you know. I'll bring my laptop and my reporter brain. We're going to dig. The next day was bright but cold. The wind cut down Peachtree Street and made people hunch into their coats. Alicia sat at a small table inside a coffee shop near her office. Her hands wrapped around a paper cup of tea she wasn't drinking. Imani walked in, a messenger bag slung over her shoulder, her curly hair pulled up under a knit cap. She spotted Alicia and came over fast. Hey, she said, giving her a quick hug. You look tired. I am, Alicia said. I feel like my brain hasn't stopped spinning for days. Imani sat down, pulled out a laptop and a folder. Okay, I'm going to talk to you like I talk to my sources, not just my friend. You ready? Alicia nodded. Full names, Imani said. Dates, jobs, anything official. Start with your husband. His name is Darius King, Alicia said. 38, senior engineer at a construction firm. Lives, lived, with his mom, before he moved in with me. His mother? Loretta King. She used to be a prosecutor. I think here in Atlanta, Imani typed quickly. She asked more questions, where they met, how long they dated, when he proposed, when they got married. She wrote it all down. Then she turned the laptop toward herself and started searching. She was quiet for a long time. Her eyes moved fast over the screen. Every now and then she frowned. Alicia stared at the little sugar packets on the table and tried not to shake. Finally, Imani closed the laptop halfway and looked up. Okay, she said. I'm going to tell you what I found. I need you to breathe, okay? Alicia's stomach dropped. Just say it. Your mother-in-law did work as a prosecutor, Imani began. Fulton County, years ago. But she doesn't anymore. Her license was revoked 15 years ago. For what? Alicia asked. Her voice came out as a whisper. Fraud, Imani said. Real estate fraud. I found records of a disciplinary hearing. She was accused of forging signatures in property deals. She cut a deal, got a light sentence, but she was barred from practicing law. Alicia's teacup shook in her hand. She set it down before she spilled it. And Darius? She asked. Imani opened the laptop again and turned the screen so Alicia could see. There were old court records, some blurred-out names, and lines of text. Has been married before, Imani said quietly. Twice. Alicia blinked. Married? First time. About 10 years ago, Imani went on. Her name was Monique Harris. She owned a condo in Chicago. It was in her name, something she got from her family. They got married. 6 months later, the condo was sold. The money disappeared. She filed for divorce and tried to sue, but she couldn't prove he took the money. Alicia swallowed hard. Her throat felt thick. The second time? She asked. 7 years ago, Imani said. A woman named Jasmine Reed. She had a house outside Philadelphia. Same pattern. They marry. He convinces her to sell, says it's for a better future, a bigger place. The house sells. The money is gone. Divorce. Lawsuits. Again, no criminal conviction, but a big mess. The sounds of the coffee shop faded into a dull hum. So, Alicia said slowly, trying to keep her breath even. So what? He just finds women with property and repeats the same thing over and over? Imani nodded, her eyes soft but firm. It looks that way, she said, and your situation fits his pattern a little too well. A single woman, nice condo, a made-up aunt that he thinks is old and sick. Alicia pressed her palms flat against the table. The wood felt rough under her fingers. That's why he keeps asking about the condo, she murmured. That's why his mother is so interested in what my aunt wants to do with it. Yes, Imani said. I'm afraid so. For a moment, Alicia could not speak. Something inside her chest cracked. All the sweet moments, the shared meals, the flowers, the soft words, they all flashed through her mind like pictures on a screen. And behind them, she saw a different picture. A man with a plan, counting steps, marking phases. Her eyes filled with tears. One slid down her cheek and she didn't bother to wipe it. Okay, she said at last, her voice shaking. If this is what they do, what do I do? Imani held up a hand. First, she said, you do not tell them any of this. You do not say, I know. You keep playing the role they think you're playing. The sweet, trusting wife. At least for a little while. Alicia sniffed. Why? Because right now, you have feelings, Imani said. But feelings don't win cases. Evidence does. If they've done this before, they know how to cover their tracks. You need proof, real proof, recordings, notes, anything that shows they're planning to use you for that condo. So I have to stay married to him, Alicia said slowly, and pretend everything is normal. Not forever, Imani replied. Just long enough to build your case. And in the meantime, I'm going to keep digging. I'm going to see if I can find those other women. Maybe more. If this is a pattern, well, show it's a pattern. Alicia let out a long breath. The pain was still there, but something else slid in behind it now. A thin, sharp line of anger. And under that, a kind of cold focus. All right, she said. Then I guess it's my turn to investigate. That night, Alicia went home and hugged Darius like nothing was wrong. He hugged her back, he kissed her forehead, he asked, "How was your day?" Like he hadn't left a trail of broken women in other cities. She answered his questions. She smiled. She laughed in the right places. Later, when he was in the shower, she picked up his phone from the nightstand and turned it over in her hand. Her fingers moved fast. She had already done her research. There were apps that recorded all phone calls and backed them up quietly. Darius had mentioned a few days earlier that he wished he had a record of a call with a subcontractor. Alicia had used that to plant the idea. I found this call recording app, she had said then. Might help you with your work. Want me to set it up? Sure, Head replied, barely looking up from the game he was watching. Now she opened the App Store, downloaded the one she had chosen, and set it to record every incoming and outgoing call automatically. She turned off all the visible alerts. When she was done, she set the phone back exactly where it had been. In the living room, she placed a small digital clock on a shelf, facing the sofa and the dining table. To Darius and Loretta, it would be just a clock. To Alicia, it was a camera. She had bought it at lunch that day and set it up herself. When Loretta came over now, when she talked about wills and what your aunt might want, the camera would see and hear it all. Over the next week, the visits continued. "Ooh, you changed the throw pillows," Loretta said one afternoon, walking around the condo like an inspector. "So cute. This place could sell for a lot. You know that?" Alicia smiled. "I don't really think about that," she lied. "You should," Loretta said. "Your aunt is old. Health is not cheap. Sometimes the best thing an old person can do is sell and move to something smaller. Free up some cash. Be smart." Alicia carried tea into the living room, set it on the table, and excused herself to the kitchen to grab sugar. When she was out of sight, Loretta's eyes flicked to the papers on the counter. Old bill statements. A copy of Alicia's deed, half tucked into a folder. Loretta stepped over, pulled out her phone, and snapped a few quick pictures. The camera in the clock caught every move. That night, Alicia watched the video on her laptop. Her jaw clenched as she saw Loretta's face, calm and sharp, while she snooped through someone else's life as if it was her right. The next visit brought more. One evening, Loretta arrived with a man in his 50s in a suit. He had a black briefcase and a smooth, practiced smile. "Alicia, this is Mr. Barnes," Loretta said. "Hes a notary. Hes just here to help us with something simple, for your protection." "My protection?" Alicia asked, heart beating faster. "Yes," Loretta said. "We were talking to a lawyer friend of mine. He said it would be smart to have a power of attorney from your aunt. You know, in case she gets worse and you need to make decisions for her. Or in case she decides to sell and you need to sign for her since you're here." Mr. Barnes opened his briefcase, took out a stack of papers, and slid them across the table. "Nothing to worry about," he said kindly. "These forms just give you the authority to act in her best interest. Very common." Alicia sat down. The words on the page swam for a second, then came into focus. They did not say Alicia acts for Aunt Laverne. They were written in a way that could let someone else act too. The language was tricky, twisted. "I'm not signing anything like this without my aunt sitting right here," Alicia said, pushing the papers back. "And she's in a rehab center in another state. So, this can wait." Loretta's smile flickered. "Dear, you're letting fear get in the way of being smart," she said. "If something happens to your aunt and you have no paper, you could lose everything." "I'm not signing," Alicia said again, more firmly. Mr. Barnes cleared his throat, packed up his papers, and stood. "Well, if you change your mind, he said, leaving a card on the table. "Give me a call." After they left, Alicia checked the camera footage. Sure enough, while she was in the kitchen, Loretta had picked up the notary's card again, taken a picture of the condo's mail with Alicia's full name and unit number, and tucked the card into her own purse. A day later, Alicia got a text from Keisha. "Allie, you were right to ask me to watch this. There was another request on your property, this time from a private investigator. Said he was looking for relatives of the owner for an inheritance matter." Alicia called her right away. "What did you tell him?" she asked. "Just basic stuff I'm allowed to share," Keisha said. "Owner's name, date of purchase. That's it." "Owner's name," Alicia repeated. "You told him the condo belongs to me." "Yeah," Keisha said. "That's public record." "Alicia, hell no now, that the owner isn't some Aunt Laverne. Hell no your name. But he doesn't know you're the same Alicia living there." "Not yet. He thinks he's doing a regular job. Still, they're digging deep. Be careful." After the call, Alicia stood very still in her living room. So now, somewhere out there, a stranger was holding a piece of paper that said Owner, Alicia Monroe. And if that stranger worked for Loretta or Darius, it was only a matter of time before the lie about the aunt broke down. The clock was ticking. The next morning, after Darius left for work, Alicia opened the closet where he kept his jackets. She slid her hand into one pocket, then another. In the lining of his navy blazer, her fingers brushed against crumpled paper. She pulled it out and smoothed it. Phone numbers, written in Darius' handwriting, with names beside them. Barnes, notary. Price, appraiser. Walker, realtor. Her chest tightened. She took a quick photo with her phone and then put the paper back in the pocket just as it had been. Then she moved to his small desk in the corner of the second bedroom. The desk drawer was not locked. Inside, between old receipts and pens, she found a spiral notebook. She flipped open the cover. On the first page, in neat block letters, it said, Phase 1, Build Trust, 3 months. Phase 2, Make it official, marriage. Phase 3, Push for sale of Aunt's condo. Use, stability, better future, help Aunt with medical bills. If needed, contact Aunt directly, offer good price. After sale, divorce. Split proceeds 50/50 with Mom. The room seemed to tilt. Alicia held the notebook with both hands. She read the words again and again, as if they might rearrange themselves into something less cold. They did not. She took pictures of every page with slow, shaking hands, pages with dates, pages with notes about her schedule, her habits, even little comments about what she liked to hear. It was all there. It had never been about love. It had been a project. Later, she would remember that moment not as the moment her heart broke, but as the moment something inside her hardened instead. That night, she called Imani again. "I have it," she said. "The proof. A notebook. Names, phases, everything." Imani was quiet, then said, "Good. Now it's time for the next step." "What's that?" Alicia asked. "You need a good lawyer," Imani replied. "Someone who knows property and family law in this city. I know exactly who you should talk to. His name is Samuel Porter." Alicia looked around her condo, the windows, the couch, the clock on the shelf, her home. "Okay," she said, "give me his number. If they think I'm prey, they picked the wrong woman." The next week, Alicia sat in a small office on the 10th floor of an old brick building in downtown Atlanta. The walls were lined with books. Not fancy books, just thick, worn volumes with gold letters on their spines. A big window looked out over the city. The desk in front of her was covered with neat stacks of paper, a yellow legal pad, and a heavy black pen. Across from her sat Samuel Porter. He was in his early 60s, with gray hair at his temples and reading glasses low on his nose. His suit wasn't flashy, but it was clean and pressed. He spoke slowly, like someone who didn't need to rush to prove he was smart. Alicia had spread everything out on his desk, a copy of her deed, printouts of the title search requests Keisha had found, screenshots of calls to Apex, still photos from the hidden camera, and, most important, the pictures of Darius' notebook pages. Samuel took his time. He read each page. He underlined a few things. He asked quiet questions. "You bought this condo 5 years ago?" he asked, tapping the deed. "Yes," Alicia said. "Before I met him, all in my name. No one else on the loan. No one else on the title. He nodded, checked the date again, and wrote something on his pad. And the marriage was in January of this year? Yes. And you have no children together? He asked. No. Samuel leaned back in his chair and took off his glasses. He looked at her for a long moment, and Alicia felt like he was looking straight through the mess and into the center of the problem. Miss Monroe, he said, from a legal standpoint, your condo is separate property. You bought it before the marriage. It's titled in your name only. Under Georgia law, your husband has no claim to the ownership of this unit. Alicia let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. So he can't take it? She asked. He can't get half? No, Samuel said. Not if we do this right. What he can do, and what he has already started to do, is try to trick you into putting that property at risk by selling it, by signing papers you don't understand, by letting other parties get their hands on it. That's where he tapped the photo of the notebook becomes very important. He picked up the picture again. Phase 1, build trust. Phase 2, get married. Phase 3, push for sale of Aunt's condo. After sale, divorce, split proceeds with Mom. He shook his head. This isn't a rough idea. This is a written plan. So what do I do? Alicia asked. In my opinion, Samuel said, you should file for divorce immediately. The longer you stay married, the more chances they have to manipulate you or your property. We will ask the court to see this as a marriage entered into under false pretenses. He paused and looked at her kindly. I know this is hard, he said. I know you cared for this man. But what he did here, what they have done to those other women, that's not a mistake. That's a scheme. What about the criminal part? Alicia asked quietly. The other wives Imani found? Monique and Jasmine? Maybe more? That's separate from your divorce, Samuel said. But all of this, he gestured at the pile of evidence, can be shared with the district attorney. If the state decides to bring charges, they will contact you. For now, my job is to protect you and your home. And there's one more thing, he added. You still have not told your husband that the condo is in your name, correct? Correct? Alicia said. He still thinks it belongs to Aunt Laverne, an aunt who doesn't exist. Samuel almost smiled, just a twitch at the corner of his mouth. Then I advise you to keep it that way, he said, at least until we have filed and served the divorce papers. Right now, they are digging in the wrong direction. That confusion works in your favor. Alicia nodded slowly. The plan was beginning to take shape, cold, clear, and painful. When can we file? She asked. As soon as you sign, Samuel replied, sliding a set of documents toward her. Well, file this week. Hell be served at his workplace or at home. However he reacts, you do not argue with him alone. You send everything to me. Understood? Understood, Alicia said. She picked up the pen. Her hand shook just a little as she signed her name, Alicia Monroe, over and over. Every stroke of ink felt like closing a door she had once walked through with hope. Darius was served 2 days later at a construction office on the north side of the city. Alicia knew the time because 20 minutes after he got the papers, the front door of the condo flew open so hard it hit the wall. She had been sitting at the dining table with her laptop, trying to work. Her heart jumped at the sound. Darius stormed into the room, a stack of folded papers in his fist. His face was red. A vein pulsed in his neck. What is this? He shouted, waving the documents. What is this, Alicia? She closed her laptop calmly and stood up. Her legs felt like they were made of air, but her voice came out steady. It's a petition for divorce, she said. Why? He demanded. What did I do? What are you telling people? I know about your past marriages, Alicia replied. I know about Monique. I know about Jasmine. I know what happened to their homes. I know what your mother did as a prosecutor. I know about the appraisal, the title search, the notary, all of it. For a heartbeat, Darius just stared at her. Then he laughed. It was a sharp, ugly sound. So you went snooping, he said. You let your little reporter friend dig up old dirt. None of that has anything to do with us. Alicia walked to the coffee table and picked up a folder. She opened it and pulled out a clear plastic sleeve with printed photos inside. These are pictures of your notebook, she said. The one in your desk. She held it up so he could see. Phase 1. Build trust. Phase 2. Get married. Phase 3. Push for sale of Aunt's condo. After sale, divorce. Split proceeds 50-50 with Mom. The color drained from his face. His mouth opened, then closed. For once, he had no words ready. You were never planning a life with me, Alicia said quietly. "You were planning a job." He took a step toward her. "You can't prove any of that," he said, but his voice had lost some of its force. "It's just notes, ideas. You don't know what I would have done." Alicia didn't back away. "I know enough," she said. "I have recordings of your calls with your mother. I have video of her snooping around my papers. I know about the law firm and the private investigator. And most important," she added, "I know the law. The condo was bought before our marriage. It's in my name only. You have no right to it." Darius' eyes narrowed. "That's not what my lawyer will say," he snapped. "We're married, Alicia. That makes it marital property." "No," she said simply. "It doesn't. My lawyer is very clear on that." He stared at her for another long moment, chest heaving. "You'll regret this," he said finally. "You think a judge is going to side with you when I tell them you lied to me about the condo, about your aunt?" "I lied to protect myself," Alicia said. "You lied to rob me. There's a difference." He grabbed his keys and slammed out the door. The sound echoed through the condo long after his footsteps faded. That night, the text started. "You don't have to do this. We can fix it. You're overreacting. You're letting other people get in your head. We're supposed to be a team." When she didn't answer, the tone changed. "You're ungrateful. You used me. You're going to look crazy in court. I'll make sure everyone knows the truth about you." Alicia forwarded every message to Samuel. Loretta showed up twice at the building, pressing the call button at the front door, demanding to be let up. Alicia watched her on the video screen and did not buzz her in. She sent that footage to Samuel too. As the days passed, things grew quiet. Quiet, Alicia had learned, did not always mean safe. Sometimes it meant people were busy planning. The day of the divorce hearing came in May. The family court was in a gray building with long hallways that smelled like old paper and floor cleaner. Alicia sat on a hard bench outside the courtroom in a simple, dark dress, her hands folded in her lap. Samuel sat beside her, calm as ever. Darius arrived with a lawyer Alicia did not know. Loretta came too, in a dark suit, her expression tight. She did not look at Alicia. When their case was called, Alicia walked into the courtroom and stood at the front. The judge was a middle-aged woman with sharp eyes. She flipped through the file, then looked up. "We're here for the matter of Monroe versus King," she said. "Petition for divorce and division of property." Samuel spoke first. He laid out the facts in a clear, steady voice. Marriage in January. No children. Condo purchased by Alicia 5 years earlier, solely in her name. Notebook with written plan. Recordings of phone calls. Evidence of past patterns with other wives. The judge listened. Sometimes she raised an eyebrow. Sometimes she wrote notes. Darius' lawyer argued that he had contributed to the marriage, that he had moved his life to be with her, that Alicia had lied about the condo and an aunt. "So your client says he believed the condo belonged to an aunt," the judge said, "and that he was just trying to help the family prepare." "Yes, Your Honor," the lawyer replied. "He was trying to be responsible." "Miss Monroe," the judge said, turning to Alicia, "why did you tell your husband the condo belonged to an aunt?" Alicia took a breath. Her hands were not shaking. "Not anymore. Because from the second date," she said, "he asked if I was renting or staying with someone. Something inside me told me not to tell the truth. I didn't know why then. I do now." "So there is no Aunt Laverne?" the judge asked. "No, Your Honor," Alicia replied. "I created that name. The condo has always been mine." A murmur rippled through the few people in the courtroom. Loretta leaned toward Darius and hissed something under her breath. He stared straight ahead. Samuel stepped forward. "Your Honor," he said, "the lie about the aunt is not proof of fraud by my client. It is proof of fear." She sensed something was wrong and, as the evidence shows, she had good reason. The property is her separate asset. The notebook shows a clear intent to target that asset, sell it, and leave her. The judge looked down at the notebook printouts again. Her face hardened. "Mr. King," she said, "do you deny writing these notes?" Darius shifted on his feet. "They were just thoughts," he said. "Ideas. I was under a lot of stress. You know, planning a future is complicated. I've heard enough," the judge said. She set the file aside and folded her hands. "Here is the court's decision," she said. "The marriage between Miss Monroe and Mr. King is dissolved. The condo located at Midtown Tower, Unit 1507, is confirmed as the separate property of Miss Monroe. Mr. King has no legal interest in it." Each party will keep their own personal property and debts. This court will forward copies of the evidence regarding possible real estate fraud to the district attorney's office for review. Her gavel came down with a sharp crack. It was over, at least this part. Alicia stepped out into the hallway. For a moment she leaned back against the cool wall and closed her eyes. She didn't feel the rush of joy she had expected. Instead, she felt something quieter. Relief. Space. The sense that a heavy door had finally been unlatched. Samuel shook her hand. "You did well," he said. "Now wait to see what the DA does." The DA did move. Within weeks, Alicia got a call from an assistant district attorney. They had reviewed Samuel's file. They had read Imanis articles. They had spoken with Monique Harris and Jasmine Reed. They had also found other women, Brittany Scott and Erica James, who told similar stories. They were opening a criminal case against Darius and Loretta King for fraud and theft, tied to multiple real estate deals. Around the same time, Alicia's phone rang with another unexpected call. "Miss Monroe?" a man's voice said. "This is Marcus Hill. I'm a private investigator. I think I might have worked on your condo a little while back." Alicia's spine stiffened. "You were the one who asked about the owner for an inheritance matter?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am," Marcus said. His voice sounded tired, a little ashamed. "I was hired by a law firm. They told me they were helping an older woman locate her family. I didn't know it was part of a scam. When I read about the Kings in the news, I put it together. I want to help if I can. No charge." Alicia hesitated, then said, "The DA will be glad to hear from you." She gave him the contact information and hung up. The circle was closing. The criminal trial took place in June, back in that same gray courthouse, but in a different, larger room. This time, Alicia was not the only woman sitting on the hard benches. Monique was there, from Chicago. Jasmine had flown in from Philadelphia. Brittany and Erica sat together, talking quietly. They looked different from each other, different ages, styles, stories, but there was a familiar tiredness in their eyes. The charges were long. Real estate fraud, theft by deception, conspiracy. The numbers were big, over $20 million in total value across all the deals they had touched. The prosecutor laid out the pattern in simple words. "They find women with property," he said to the jury. "They build trust. They marry. They push for a sale. When the money moves, so do they." Alicia took the stand and told her story. She tried to keep her voice even. Sometimes it wavered anyway. She told them about Apex, about the notebook, about the fake power of attorney, about the camera in the clock. She did not tell them much about the nights she lay awake staring at the ceiling, or the way her chest had hurt when she realized the man she loved saw her as a target. Those parts stayed inside her. The other women told their own stories. Each one was a different version of the same bad dream. The defense tried to paint it all as messy breakups, misunderstandings, angry exes. They said Darius was just bad with money, not a criminal. They said Loretta was overbearing, not a thief. But the notebook was hard to explain away. So were the bank transfers. So were the repeating words in emails and texts. At the end of the trial, the jury did not need long. Guilty. On multiple counts. The day of the sentencing, Alicia sat in the back row of the courtroom. She watched as Loretta stood before the judge, her hands clasped, her mouth a tight line. "Miss King," the judge said, "you used your legal knowledge not to help people, but to hurt them. For that, this court sentences you to 8 years in federal prison." Darius stepped up next. "Mr. King," the judge said, "you built trust and then turned it into a weapon. You treated marriage as a tool to steal. For that, you are sentenced to 6 years in federal prison." As the guards led them away, Darius turned his head. For a second, his eyes met Alicia's. There was anger there. There was also something like regret, or maybe just frustration, that his plan had not worked this time. Alicia held his gaze for one heartbeat, then looked past him. She didn't owe him her eyes anymore. In the hallway afterward, Monique came up to her and hugged her tight. "If you hadn't fought," Monique said, "I'd still be thinking it was just bad luck, that it was my fault. You showed it was a crime." Erica nodded. "You didn't just save your home," she said. "You stopped them." Alicia smiled, a small, tired smile. "I was just trying to protect myself," she said. "Sometimes, Jasmine answered. That's exactly how you end up protecting everybody else. If you were in Alicia's place, would you have had the strength to gather every piece of proof and face your own husband in court? Or would you have tried to keep the peace and hoped for the best? Let me know in the comments what you think you would do. And stay with me, because in the next part of this story, we'll see not just how Alicia survived this storm, but how she healed, rebuilt her life, and learned to trust again without ever forgetting what her intuition taught her. When the trial was over and the news stories quieted down, Alicia finally had time to feel tired. For months, her life had been courtrooms and meetings and long phone calls with lawyers. Every day, some new memory of Darius would float up, the way he smiled at her over coffee, the way he had held her hand at their wedding, and bump against the hard truth of who he really was. One evening in late June, she stood in the middle of her condo and turned in a slow circle. The place looked the same as when Darius first moved in. Same gray sofa, same small dining table, same plain walls, but it didn't feel the same. It felt like a room where someone had once tried to write her out of her own story. She called a contractor the next week. In July, the condo became a construction zone. Plastic sheets covered the furniture. The sound of drills and hammers filled the air. Alicia worked from a corner of her bedroom while workers tore up the old carpet and opened up the space between the kitchen and living room. She chose light wood floors, soft white paint, new cabinets, a brighter light fixture over the table. She ordered a big mirror for the wall by the front door. Why the mirror? The designer asked her when they were going over the final details. So I see myself every time I leave, and every time I come home, Alicia said. I want to remember who kept this place safe. The designer just smiled and wrote it down. When the work was done, the condo felt new. Sunlight bounced off the floors. The kitchen was open and airy. The mirror by the door showed a woman with tired eyes, but a strong set to her shoulders. Alicia touched the frame of the mirror and whispered, "You did it. You're still here." Still, the noise inside her head did not quiet all the way. So in late July, she did something she hadn't done in a long time. She took a vacation. Alone. She drove down to Tybee Island, near Savannah. The air smelled like salt and sunscreen. The ocean stretched out wide and flat, rolling in slow waves. She rented a small cottage near the beach. In the mornings, she walked along the sand, letting the water wash over her ankles. She watched the gulls and the children playing and the couples walking hand in hand. At first, watching couples hurt. It reminded her of what she thought she had, and what she really had. On the fourth evening, she carried a folding chair to the edge of the water and sat, staring at the orange sky. The wind tugged at her hair. "Mind if I sit near you?" a voice asked. Alicia turned. An older woman stood there, holding her own chair. Her hair was silver, pulled back in a low bun. She wore a light dress and sensible sandals. "Of course," Alicia said. "Go ahead." The woman set her chair down next to Alicia's and sat with a small sigh. "My name's Ruby," she said. "Ruby Mae Johnson. But folks around here call me Miss Ruby. I've been coming to this beach every summer since my husband passed. It's the only place where I can hear myself think." "I'm Alicia," Alicia said. They sat in easy silence for a while, listening to the waves. "You got a lot on your mind, baby?" Miss Ruby said after a time, not unkindly. "I can see it in your shoulders." Alicia gave a small laugh. "Is it that obvious?" "Age teaches you to read people," Miss Ruby said. "You don't have to tell me nothing if you don't want to. But if you do, I'm a very good listener." Maybe it was the sound of the waves. Maybe it was the kindness in the older woman's eyes. Maybe it was just time, Alicia told her. She told her about Darius and Loretta and the notebook and the trial. She told her about the fear of losing her home and the strange guilt of winning. Miss Ruby listened without interrupting. When Alicia's voice broke, she handed her a tissue and waited. When Alicia finished, she stared out at the darkening water. "Sometimes I feel crazy for not trusting him from the beginning," Alicia said. "Sometimes I feel crazy for not leaving sooner. And sometimes I feel crazy for ever letting him in at all." Miss Ruby shook her head. "Listen to me," she said gently. "You are not crazy. You are awake. You saw what was happening and you didn't pretend it was okay." "But I lied to him," Alicia said. "About the condo, about the aunt." "That lie kept a roof over your head," Miss Ruby said. "That lie gave you time. That lie was self-defense. People lie to hurt others. You lied to protect yourself from people who meant you harm. That's not the same thing." She leaned closer. "Women get told all the time, don't be so suspicious, don't be so dramatic, don't make a fuss. And you know what happens? They get hurt. Because they didn't make a fuss soon enough. You made a fuss. You listened to that little voice in your gut." Alicia felt tears prick her eyes again, but this time they were lighter. "I keep worrying," she said, "that now I'll never trust anyone again, that I'll push away somebody good." Miss Ruby smiled. "Good people don't run from your caution," she said. "Good people say, take your time. I'll be here. Bad people say, why don't you trust me already? You see the difference?" Alicia nodded slowly. "Yeah," she said. "I think I do." They sat there until the sun slid into the water and the sky turned purple. When they finally stood to leave, Miss Ruby patted Alicia's arm. "You go live your life," she said. "Don't let one con man and his mama steal the rest of it." Back in Atlanta, Alicia felt a little lighter. She went back to work at the office downtown. Mr. Cole called her in one day and told her he was promoting her to lead a small team. "You handled a storm and still did good work," he said. "That matters." In the evenings, she started going to a gym a few blocks from her building. She liked moving her body, feeling strong, reminding herself that she existed from head to toe, not just in her thoughts. One evening in August, she was trying to figure out a new machine when a man stepped up beside her. "Hey, sorry," he said. "Do you know how this thing works?" "I've been pretending I do, but I think the machine knows I'm lying." Alicia laughed. He was tall, with warm brown skin and kind eyes. His t-shirt had a paint smear on it near the hem. "You're supposed to sit this way," she said, showing him. "Otherwise you're just sort of flapping." He followed her directions and tried again. "Ah," he said, "that feels less embarrassing." They ended up talking between sets. His name was Malcolm Pierce. He was an architect. He had moved to Atlanta from Chicago not long ago. At the end of the workout, he wiped his face with a towel and said, "Hey, no pressure, but if you ever want to grab a coffee after the gym, I'm around." Alicia felt that old instinct rise up, the one that wanted to say yes right away. Now there was a new instinct standing beside it. "Not yet," she said with a small smile. "But thank you." He didn't sulk. He didn't push. "I get it," Malcolm said. "If you change your mind, I'm here most Tuesdays and Thursdays." "I'll be the guy losing a fight with the machines." He handed her a business card and left it at that. For a while, the card sat in a dish by the door, next to her keys. Every time Alicia picked up her keys to leave, she saw his name, Malcolm Pierce, architect. She didn't call, not right away. Life was full. She started seeing a therapist once a week. She wrote in a journal. She talked to her mom, Brenda, more than she had in years. Slowly, the sharp edges of the whole ordeal grew a little smoother. Then one day in early September, she got an email from a small publisher that focused on self-help and true stories. "We read about your case," the editor wrote. "We think your story could help other women. Have you ever thought about writing a book?" Alicia stared at the screen. The idea scared her and pulled her in at the same time. "I'm not a writer," she told the editor on their first call. "You don't have to be," the editor said. "We'll pair you with a ghostwriter. You just have to tell your story and what you learned. There are a lot of women out there who need to hear it." After a few nights of thinking, Alicia said yes. For the next few months, she sat at her dining table, the same spot where Darius had once stood yelling with divorce papers in his hand, and told her story into a recorder. She talked about the condo, the notebook, the trial, Miss Ruby on the beach. The book came out in the spring with a simple title, Intuition Never Lies. It surprised everyone, including Alicia, when it started to sell. She was invited to speak at a women's group at a community center in Atlanta. She walked in, nervous, clutching a copy of the book. The room was full of women of all ages. She told them what she had been too scared to say out loud at first, that it was okay to ask questions, to check backgrounds, to say no. After the talk, a young woman with big glasses and a neat braid waited until the line got shorter. Then she stepped up, holding a copy of the book to her chest. "Hi," she said. "My name is Nia Carter. I just wanted to say thank you." "For what?" Alicia asked. Nia took a breath. "I was dating this guy," she said. "He was sweet at first. Then he started asking about my parents' house, who owned it. If they planned to leave it to me, I thought I was being silly to worry until I read your book. She held the book up a little. You wrote that good people don't rush you into big decisions, Nia said. And bad people do. So I ran a check on him. Turned out he'd been married twice, and both times his ex-wives lost money and property in the divorce. I broke up with him the same day. She smiled, eyes shining. You saved me years of pain, Nia said. So, thank you. Really. Alicia felt tears gather, but this time they came with a deep warmth. I'm glad you listened to yourself, she said. You did that. Not me. On the way home that night, she walked past the gym and saw the lights on. She took Malcolm's card out of her wallet, looked at it for a second, then slipped her phone from her bag. Hi, Malcolm, she said when he answered. It's Alicia. From the gym. If you're still up for that coffee. I think I'm ready now. If you've ever come out of a bad relationship and wondered if you would ever trust again, you know how giant that little step can feel. Tell me in the comments. After everything Alicia went through, would you have called Malcolm? Or would you have stayed on your own longer? In the final part of this story, we'll see what happens next, how Alicia builds a new kind of love, and what she does when the past, in the form of Darius' mother, tries to knock on her door one more time. The first time Alicia and Malcolm sat across from each other in a coffee shop, it felt different from all the dates she'd had before. No butterflies crashing around in her stomach, no rush to impress, just a quiet calm, like walking into a room where the light is already on. They met at a small cafe a few blocks from her condo. The place smelled like fresh bread and vanilla. People talked softly over mugs and laptops. I'm glad you called, Malcolm said, stirring his coffee. I was starting to think you'd thrown my card away. I almost did, Alicia admitted. Then I almost called you about 10 times and talked myself out of it every time. He smiled, but he didn't tease. I get it, he said. You don't owe me an explanation. She looked at him, really looked. His eyes were steady, not poking and prodding. His hands moved when he talked, but not in a way that felt slick or rehearsed. When she told him, piece by piece, about what she had been through, he didn't jump in with comments about her choices. He just listened. Wow, he said quietly when she finished. I'm sorry you went through all of that. Sometimes, I'm sorry I let it happen, she said. You didn't let it happen, he replied. They did it. You stopped it. That's the part I'm going to remember. They talked for 3 hours. About work, about favorite movies, about their families. Malcolm talked about his mom, a retired teacher in Chicago, who still mailed him newspaper clippings she thought he should read. He laughed about old projects that went wrong and what he learned from them. At the end of the night, he walked her to the corner where their paths split. So, he said, would it be okay if I asked you out again sometime? Alicia thought of Miss Ruby's words on the beach. Good people don't run from your caution. They wait. Yes, Alicia said, but I need to go slow. I can do slow, Malcolm said. I'm an architect. We're used to long projects. The year that followed did not look like a movie. It looked like real life. There were simple dinners, walks through the park, some awkward moments when Alicia pulled back without meaning to and had to explain that her fear came from the past, not from Malcolm. He did not get angry. He did not rush her. When she asked hard questions about his money, his past relationships, his family, he answered them honestly. She met his mother, a warm woman who hugged her and said, "Take care of my boy, he thinks too much sometimes." Alicia visited his friends. She even spoke once, on the phone, with an old girlfriend of his who still thought well of him. Slowly, her trust grew stronger. Not all at once like a door flying open. More like a window being cracked wider, bit by bit, letting in more air. One fall evening, almost a year after the trial, Malcolm came over for dinner at her condo. The place was bright and calm, new floors, new light, the big mirror by the door. After they ate, he stood up, walked around the table, and knelt down beside her chair. "Alicia," he said, his voice steady, "I love you. I want to build a life with you, not a scheme. I want to fall asleep next to you when we're old and arguing over what to watch on TV. Will you marry me?" He held out a simple ring, nothing flashy, just a clear promise. Alicia looked at him. For one long moment, all the old fear and all the new hope sat side by side in her chest. "I need to think," she said softly. "Okay," Malcolm said at once. "Take all the time you need. If the answer is no, I'll still be grateful I got to know you. If it's yes, I'll be the luckiest man in this city. Either way, I'm not going to pressure you. For a month, Alicia thought. She talked to her therapist. She visited Miss Ruby again. She prayed. She asked herself 3 questions. Do I trust him? Do I love him? Can I protect myself and still let him in? In the end, the answers lined up. Yes, yes, yes. One cool afternoon in October, she invited him over, stood by the window, and said, "Malcolm Pierce, if you still want to marry me, my answer is yes." He did. And they did. The wedding was small. Family. A few close friends. No big show, no rented hall. They held the ceremony by a quiet lake just outside Atlanta. The sky was clear, the air mild. Imani read a short piece at the ceremony about building trust like a house brick by brick, with care. When they exchanged rings, Alicia felt a deep, settled peace. This time, there was no secret plan behind the smiles. Later that night, as the sky turned dark and the last guests left, Malcolm hugged her from behind on the deck. "Thank you for trusting me," he whispered. "Thank you for earning it," she replied. They lived together in the Midtown condo. Not because Malcolm pushed for it, but because Alicia asked. "This is your home," he told her. "I'm just grateful you're letting me share it." He never asked to be put on the deed. He never tried to move her money or rearrange her accounts. When bills came, they sat at the table and went through them together, each paying their share. One evening, almost a year later, as they were cooking dinner, Alicia's phone rang. The number was from an office. She almost let it go to voicemail. Then she answered. "Miss Monroe?" A man's voice said. "My name is Alan Price. I'm the attorney representing Loretta King." The room seemed to tilt for a second. "Yes," Alicia said carefully. "I know who she is." "My client is still in prison," he said. "Her health has declined. The doctors are recommending release on medical grounds. The board will consider early parole. She asked me to reach out to you. She hopes you will not oppose it." Alicia leaned against the counter. Malcolm looked up from the stove, watching her face. "Why is she asking me?" Alicia said. "The board may weigh the opinions of victims," he said. "She wanted you to know that if she is released, she will not contact you. She just wants to live out whatever time she has left quietly." A long silence stretched between them. Alicia thought of Loretta in the courtroom, stiff and hard, never admitting she had done wrong. She thought of the notebook in Darius' desk. She thought of all the women they had hurt. She also thought of Miss Ruby saying, "Don't let them steal the rest of your life." "You can tell her this," Alicia said at last. "I will not fight her request. But if she or Darius ever come near me or my husband, if they write, call, show up, I will do everything I can to send them back." "I'll pass that on," the lawyer said. "Thank you for your time." After she hung up, Malcolm turned off the stove and stepped closer. "You okay?" he asked. "That was Loretta's lawyer," Alicia said. "She's sick. They want early release." "What did you tell them?" he asked. "That I won't stand in the way," Alicia said. "But I won't open the door, either." Malcolm nodded slowly. "That sounds like you," he said, strong and kind at the same time. She smiled a little. "Maybe," she said. "Mostly, I just don't want them taking up space in my head anymore. They've had enough of my time." She walked to the mirror by the door. The woman in the glass looked back at her. Same face, same eyes. But there was a new layer now, something like quiet power. "When I married Darius," she said, almost to herself, "I didn't tell him this condo was mine. Back then, I thought I was just being sneaky." "And now?" Malcolm asked gently. "Now I see it for what it was," she said. "My intuition. My first act of self-defense. That secret didn't break our marriage. His plan did." She turned and leaned against the wall, looking at the home she had almost lost and the life she had almost never had. "I used to think strong women never get fooled," she said. "Now I know that's not true. Strong women get fooled, but they don't stay fooled. They protect themselves, they fight back, and in the end, they win." She glanced toward the camera, toward you, as if you were standing right there in the doorway. "And maybe," she added softly, "their story helps someone else win too. You stayed with this story all the way to the end, and I'm truly glad you did." If Alicia's journey touched something in you, if it made you think about your own intuition, your own boundaries, or someone you care about, don't just leave quietly. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next real-life story we share here. If there was a part that didn't sit right with you, or something you wish had been different, tell me in the comments. Your words help shape what comes next. And if you still aren't sure how you feel, you can always tap the like button anyway. It's a simple way to let me know you're out there listening and that I can keep trying to make each video better than the last. Thank you for giving your time and your heart to this story. On the screen now, you'll see more videos waiting for you, other lives, other lessons, other women who refuse to stay silent. Click one, settle in, and I'll meet you in the next story.